Good morning. For anyone who doesn't know me, my name is Deborah and I'm a member at West Beach Community Church, and we're continuing our sermon series today. There's more to life than ... And today's topic is there's more to life than Netflix. So it's kind of an interesting topic. Just in case there's anyone watching this who doesn't know what Netflix is, it's a streaming service, which means you pay a monthly subscription and you can watch the movies and TV shows that are part of this library, this Netflix library of shows and movies. You don't have to pay for them as you watch them. You pay a monthly fee and they're all available to you. And I will say this, if you don't know what Netflix is, but you have managed to navigate the remote church thing enough to be watching this, then well done. I think that you deserve extra credit because it's probably not in your comfort zone. But here we are. So what do we mean by there's more to life than Netflix? Obviously, Netflix is just one very specific example. And I hope there's more to life than Netflix. For one thing, because we don't actually have Netflix in our household at the moment. We have in the past. But it is kind of a good topic for me because I do love watching TV. If we expand Netflix to mean relaxing and watching something on the TV, that's something I really enjoy. I love reading books. I'm a big reader, but there's no denying that there's something very relaxing and very indulgent about just the lack of mental effort required if you sit back and just watch something on the screen that somebody else has put together. And it's something that Ray and I like to do together. We both like to watch TV, so it can deceptively feel like time together, which is a bit of a trap in itself. But even if we extend Netflix to watching TV, obviously that's still one specific example. It might not be your thing. You might not be into watching TV. But if that's the case, I'm sure for you there is an equivalent thing, something that you enjoy doing just for relaxation, something that is just an indulgence, just for fun. So I've chosen to look at today's topic as not just there's more to life than Netflix, but there's more to life than relaxation and enjoying ourselves. The concept of this sermon series we've been doing is sort of drawn from the book of Ecclesiastes. And the passage that really grabbed me today when I was reflecting on this topic, that there's more to life than Netflix, that topic, was Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 to 8. So it's not too long a passage and it will probably be familiar to many of you. So let's just read it now. It's Ecclesiastes chapter 3, starting at verse 1. For everything there is a season, and a time for every matter under heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up what is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing. Hey, what do you know? Social distancing is in the Bible. Who knew? A time to seek, and a time to lose. A time to keep, and a time to cast away. A time to tear, and a time to sow. A time to keep silence, and a time to speak. A time to love, and a time to hate. A time for war, and a time for peace. Well, the takeaway there is pretty simple. There's a time for everything. But what I can't help but notice is that a lot of those pairs have one good thing and one bad thing, as we might term it. You know, there's a time to mourn and a time to dance. There's a time to tear and a time to mend. So we think of one of those things as good and one as bad. And the reason that really makes me think is I think most of us really at heart, we want life to be all good, all the good things. We don't really want the bad things. But that's not the picture that this passage paints, and obviously that's not the experience of our lives either. So let's picture that Netflix, or relaxing and doing what we enjoy, is one of the many things that has its time. It can't be all the time, can it? Our lives are full of many things, each with their own time, and not all of them are things that we consider good things. So based on the hunch that you may not want to watch me sitting here talking for 20 minutes, I thought I'd invite you along on some of the random things in my day, both good and bad, the things that have their time in an average day for me, which happens to have been today. So here we go. Good morning. There is a time for not being polished and presentable and ready for the day. And that time also happens to be cup of tea time. And there's a time to be raring to go with my hair brushed and my game face on, ready for whatever this day is going to throw at me. There's a time for laundry. Actually, if I'm honest, that one doesn't really support my point that there's a time for everything, because it seems like there's always a time for laundry. At least it has. There's a time to accept the inevitable and let my kids just get grubby. And there's a time to wash the grubbiness away. According to my 2-year-old daughter, there's also a time to fill this tub with those bark chips, strip all her clothes off, and have what she calls a bark bath. I don't know, I've never tried it. Maybe she's right. There's a time to make lunch for an impatient clientele who are hungry and eager to eat. There's a time to enjoy eating lunch with my family. And a time to tidy up the inevitable mess. It was actually disappointingly neat today. We had butter chicken with rice the other night, and that was quite something to see. There's a time for changing pooey nappies. Don't worry, I won't show you the details. There's a time to enjoy just being loud. And a time for the sweet silence of nap time, which incidentally, in addition to being once again cup of tea time, is also time for me to put on my work hat and do my other job. There's a time for cuddles on the couch and reading books. There's a time for, no, wait, still time for laundry. And finally, there's a time to snuggle up on the couch in front of the TV, or Netflix, if you will. And we're back. I hope you enjoyed that little tour of my day. I was hoping actually to entertain you with a bit more chaos. I thought it would be really easy to just capture lots of instances of kids sort of screaming in the background, but hey, my kids are unusually well behaved today. And also it turns out when they're, wigging out, it's not as easy as you might think to whip out the camera and capture the moment. But you get the idea. The day involves lots of things, good things, bad things, mundane things. There's nothing especially dramatic or memorable in the day today. But if we want dramatic things, we can look back at the passage for those things. It says there's a time to be born. It also says there's a time to die. A time to heal, yes, but also a time to kill. The one that really blows me away is the last one, a time for peace, which sounds great. In a Monday, everyday sense, that's the time when I'm on the couch watching TV. Peace, total peace. But the passage says there's a time for war. That's not what we want here, is it? No one wants war. I don't want war. But there is a time for war. When you're surrounded by injustice, it's not the time for peace. It's the time to strap on your metaphorical sword and fight. But if we go back to the day-to-day, the more mundane, there's a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, a time to dance. We don't really want to mourn. We want to be happy. But we can't have a life of just the things we enjoy, can we? And if we did, we'd probably find those things lose their shine. Don't you think that if I had spent my whole day watching TV, I wouldn't really enjoy sitting down with Ray at the end of the night to watch something on TV? I know that when I try to make my life all about the good things and none of the bad things, I make a rod for my own back in more ways than one. First, I find myself constantly frustrated and disappointed by the presence of the bad things. And I'm talking even just mundane. I'm thinking, I want to get my own work done, and I'm frustrated because instead I have a dirty nappy to change. Or I want that peace to focus, and instead I have kids clinging to my legs and crying. It just gets so frustrating because it's like this mentality that I'm somehow being cheated of the good things that I should be spending my time on. But even further than that, I actually don't enjoy the good things as much because they're not in their proper place. They're trying to be everywhere all the time, which means however much I get of them, it's never enough to satisfy that expectation. And even whatever I do get of it is poisoned. Whatever rest, whatever enjoyment I get is poisoned because it's not satisfying the unrealistic level of expectation that I have. Ray's sister is a doctor, my sister-in-law, and she spent several months a few years back volunteering in Papua New Guinea in a remote area. And she was reflecting to us when she came home about how much less TV she watched. So she didn't have a TV over there, and power was limited. They had a generator for certain hours of the day. And another family living there used to have a Friday night movie night, and people from the village would gather to watch a movie, and it was a fun event. But her interesting reflection was that she loved that experiencing that really different lifestyle of entertainment specifically. So she loved it in two ways, though. Firstly, she found that she enjoyed doing other things. She entertained herself in other ways and tried different things that she might not have tried if she had the easy access of watching a TV every night. And that was a really good experience to expand her horizons in that way. But even beyond that, she said she enjoyed watching TV when she did watch it so much more than she did at home when she was watching so much more TV. It was more special. It had a bit more meaning and a bit more interest because it wasn't happening all the time. I know that we found the same thing just in everyday life here in Adelaide. There have been times when we're really in the rhythm of watching something on TV every night of the week. And when that happens, it's funny, but it actually becomes a chore. It becomes another task on the list of things to get done that day, things we need to get done before we go to bed. And it's silly because, of course, we don't need to get it done. It's not productive, but it feels, in my mind at least, like we've got to get to it. And I'm a very task-oriented person. I'm a list person. And if it's on my mental list, then it needs to get done. And if it doesn't get done, I feel stressed and like I haven't achieved what I need to achieve. And Ray and I have often joked about a certain mentality we sometimes have where we're stressed and rushing to get through our work because we just want to get to the bit where we get to relax on the couch. And sometimes we just stop and laugh at the absurdity of being like, I'm rushing to relax. I have to get there quickly so I can relax and do nothing and slow down. It just doesn't really make sense because it's sort of the opposite of what relaxing is supposed to be. If you're stressed about getting there, it's not going to have that relaxing effect. when we find ourselves in better rhythms where we're not always expecting to watch TV every night, but we're doing other things and finding other ways to fill our spare time, and there are lots of other ways to relax and enjoy ourselves, we enjoy all of it so much more. We enjoy watching TV more when we do it because it has a bit more novelty. We enjoy the other things that we do, but we also, I think, even enjoy the household chores or the bad things more because we don't feel so frustrated the whole time we're doing them, like they're keeping us from something else we should be doing, something more enjoyable. I mean, all this is to say, of course, there's more to life than Netflix. That should be obvious, and I hope that is very obvious to all of us. But the broader comment here is that there's more to life than peace, than prosperity, even than happiness. There's a time to be happy, but there's actually also a time to struggle. If we look at our lives, if we're honest with ourselves, the times that we learn the most, the times that we grow, are not usually the times when we're just really happy and everything's easy. And I don't think many of us would actually choose for our lives to look like that all the time, because who would we be as people? There wouldn't be a lot of depth. There's a time to be happy, there's a time to struggle, and that's true for all of us, whatever our expectations might be. It's our reality. So that makes me question whether it's not the experiences that need to change, but it's our perspective. If we see the struggle as a necessary and worthwhile part of life, it's suddenly not so maddening. It's not keeping us from the enjoyment that we're entitled to in our minds. It's just what it looks like to live this life. And it can make us appreciate and enjoy the good things much more if we let it. I wonder if anyone saw this topic and thought that I was going to give a sermon on not being lazy or not indulging in luxuries like streaming services. I would talk about how, so many people don't have those things and therefore we shouldn't have them or want them or enjoy them. I hope it's really clear that that is not the point that I'm trying to make. I'd be very hypocritical if I was. Rest is good. Enjoyment and relaxation are good. They're not bad. We need them. There's a time for rest. But that time isn't all the time. It's some of the time. Rest is sweet and beautiful when it's in its proper place. And whether that rest takes the form of Netflix or something else entirely is really neither here nor there. But even something as sweet as rest begins to sour when it's all we prioritize, when we think it should be all the time. Relaxing also is not the same as re-energizing. The book of Ecclesiastes that we've just read from famously opens with the meaningless, everything is meaningless. It's pretty depressing stuff if you just read that in isolation. The author goes on to list lots and lots of things that he has explored and found to have no meaning. Things that we consider the good things as well as the bad things. The truth is that meaning, true meaning, just isn't actually found outside of God. He created us and he designed us, and we don't find the meaning that he created us to find if we only look for it elsewhere, if we don't look for him. Without him, we can spend an endless amount of time resting and still wonder why we come out of it stressed and no more energized than when we started. We're designed to search for meaning. We're designed to crave it, to want it. Ecclesiastes certainly shows us that, as the author searches desperately for meaning in all kinds of things, in all kinds of places. Watching Netflix won't give us that meaning. Whatever form of relaxation you enjoy won't give you that, not by itself. We need to connect with God in order to find meaning and to be truly re-energized. There's a time for rest. There's a time for really, really hard work. There's a time for the highs and the lows of life, whether we like it or not. But neither these goods nor these bads will give us real meaning or real fulfillment, not even when they're beautifully balanced. There's more to life than Netflix. It's the presence of God that our spirits crave, whether we recognize it or not. That's why when I'm distant from God, I can watch all of the TV I like, and it doesn't make me feel better. It just makes me feel like I'm chasing another chore. God gives us meaning, and it's that purpose and fulfillment that allows us not only to slog through the lows, but to fully get the benefits of the highs as well. So I showed you a snapshot of my day, and I have shared some of my reflections on this interesting, unusual topic. Your day might look really different, and your reflections might take a really different form, and that's great. But whatever your day does or doesn't involve, my prayer is that it involves time in God's presence where you can find true meaning. I know that my day could use a lot more of that. God bless you all this week, and until we can meet again.